Hi, I'm Chris from Wilson Wildlife Sculpture, and I'm going to be presenting today at the International Association of Woodcarvers.
All right, everybody. Thank you all for joining us today with the International Association of Woodcarvers. Today is June the 18th, 2022, a little bit after 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I appreciate you all joining in with us today. It's been a few weeks since we met. This is our summer series now. We're having monthly meetings because of the summer weather. We know that a lot of people are out doing things during the summer. So we're only going to be meeting on a monthly basis this month, July and August, and then we hope to go back to weekly meetings in September. This week we have on with us Chris Wilson. Chris is coming to us from Georgia, and he's going to be talking to us a little bit about his carving journey, his business called Wilson Wildlife Sculpture, and we'll have him in just a few minutes. I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we've got coming up. In July, we'll have Guy Nelson on. Guy's out in Utah, and he's going to be talking to us about bolo ties and carving bolos. And he's going to come to us and talk to us about the Renegade that they had out there in Utah not too long ago. So see Guy Nelson on July the 23rd. We'll be advertising that on social media. And then on August the 20th, that'll be our August meeting. We'll have Malcolm Sharp in on July the 20th. So make sure you put those on your calendar. And again, we'll share all of that out on social media. But make sure you join us if you can. Again, July the 23rd and August the 20th. I wanted to tell you a little bit about some workshops that are going to be coming up. Don't forget that Dave Stetson will be having a workshop. It starts on July the 9th. He's going to be doing one on carving heads, hands, and hair. So if you get a chance to sign up, contact Dave. All the information's out there on Woodcarving Academy. You can contact him. He'll let you know what materials you'll need and the times that those classes will be held. Again, it's hands, head, and hair on July the 9th with Dave Stetson. And then on August the 12th, Janet Cordell is going to be having a class. That's on a full-figured female. So if you're interested in that class, it starts August the 12th. Contact Janet Cordell. If you're interested in any past workshops, I know Ron's putting those out there on Woodcarving Academy. So if you haven't signed up yet, or if you haven't gone out to their website and checked out what they have to offer out there, there's quite a bit of instruction available through Woodcarving Academy. So make sure you go out and check that out. Ron's also donated to us some certificates that we'll be giving away in future meetings so that you can go out and try that for free before you sign up. So make sure you watch for those giveaways. We're also going to have a Helvie knife on the next meeting on July the 23rd that we'll be auctioning off. All the money that we get from that auction will go to allow us to continue to have these Zoom meetings because we have to continue to pay for the Zoom subscription. So make sure you watch for that. Again, today we have on with us Chris Wilson. You can find Chris in a few places. He has a YouTube channel, Wilson Wildlife Sculpture. He's on Instagram. He has a website, again, Wilson Wildlife Sculpture, and you can find him on Facebook. So make sure you go out and check him out. Today, he's going to be talking to us a little bit about his carving journey and what he does as far as presentation with his carvings. Anybody who's seen his work out on social media, we posted quite a bit of it this week. He has some there with him, and he's going to be talking about that, but he does fantastic work. So we're excited to have him on today, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him. Chris, we appreciate you coming on and sharing your information today. I'll go ahead and turn the meeting over to you.
Well, thank you, Blake, and thanks for having me on. And I like the community that this network is bringing, and just want to talk a little bit about my journey, and maybe I can help you. I've been carving for over 40 years, and I'm a full-time professional woodcarver. I want to talk about how I became a sculptor as well, and a professor of art, and an owner of Wilson Wildlife Sculpture. And perhaps I can help you improve your work, especially your presentation. I listened to some other YouTube videos, and they talked about composition bases. So no matter what genre of wood carving that you do, I do wildlife. I have birds behind me, but I also sculpt quite a bit of other nature-oriented themes. But I also do whimsical work. I've done caricatures, I've done monumental to miniature, in all mediums, wood, stone, bronze, wood, everything. So hopefully I can make it interesting. And I'd like to start with talking about how I began. Everyone wants to know, your first experience, and mine's a little funny one. I was 10 years old. I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, the home of Chip Chats, and Ohio has many, many great wood carvers. And I was going to a magnet school for the arts called CAC, that's Creative, Able, and Committed. But I was also a scout and Boy Scouts, 10 years old. I was at summer camp and I thought I would try a woodcarving merit badge. So I borrowed my uncle's knife. He was in the Marines. And it was just a dull knife. And I carved and cut myself pretty good. And I saw the blood and fainted. So I passed out and I was on the ground. And my best friend comes running over and sees me and thinks I'm dead. So I did not give up wood carving. I was in that art program, and my teacher, Marilyn Arn, was a wildlife artist, and she showed me how to carve soap. And so I got used to the subtractive process so I could return the wood again after my wound healed, and I never stopped. In fact, there was an assignment to interview an artist, and I decided to interview a woodcarver. And I was blown away by this guy's work. His name is Gary Densler. He was head of the birds of prey at the Cincinnati Zoo. And he was an incredible carver. He was a master falconer, so he would carve these birds in flight. I have an eagle behind me. So he was, when I saw his work, I knew that's what I wanted to do for a living. And but then I was 14 years old. And at that age, my family moved down to Georgia. Thanks to my mentors, my parents, I got really good advice and support. My father found a wood carver named Alan Sykes, who was professional, carved duck decoys. And every other weekend, I would have a private lesson with Alan Sykes. He was also a master falconer, did incredible realism. And this elevated my abilities from going through competitions and novice all the way to intermediate to professional as a teenager. So I would do a lot of shows traveling the country. And I developed pretty quickly thanks to private lessons, which I would recommend. Private lessons is a great way to go. Now you can do things virtually. But back in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot less information out there than there is now. But still, people are different learners. I come from a family of teachers, but I do best hands-on and learning by example. So I had some other mentors like Ernie Mills, who carved ducks with a hatchet. But I stuck with hand tools, knives, chisels, as well as got into power carving. And I still do both today. I started doing competitions, the world championships, and to work my way up into winning best in species category, and best in division, or best in show, professional division. And at that time, I wanted to be one of the best, wanted to be the best. So I built an aviary with 17 ducks in my parents' backyard. So there were models from my work. And another good tip for you is to always try to carve what you know. So in order to study and do birds realistically, I observed them, and these were wild birds. I had a federal migratory license to keep them. I haven't even had to go to a variance court where the judges told duck jokes, but I won and was able to keep the birds and for their natural lifespan. So I mainly carve ducks, and I have one here. I don't like to hold my birds with sweaty hands, so I use a bag from just a vegetable bag. So this is a wood dock, one of the birds I had in my aviary. I don't know if you can see that detail, but it's fine burning and it's carved with hand tools as well as power tools. But the fine wood burning and combination of oil paints gives a really luxury sheen on the bird. This is a later piece. This is one of my early pieces. My parents have those, but it's carved from one piece of wood, no inserts. Actually, no, I did carve the head separately in this one. So, but the primaries are carved one piece. And so that's the kind of work I would do. Let me put this down. And as I developed, you know, winning awards and winning prize money, it was fun. I was young, and I had a lot of great teachers. Some of y'all might know Bob Googie, the late Bob Googie, real innovator. Larry Barth, awesome carver. Jamie Welsh gave me private lessons for free. Just a great guy, and was able to examine and pick apart technique. He's awesome. Jim Wilsford, who also passed away, but he carved animals, and I you know, learned how to make my own patterns from Larry Barth and Jim Wilsford, and carve texture fur. And also great artists like Vic Hood, I studied with. Vic called me a cross carver. He taught me figurative carving, bust carving, which I don't do too much these days. But I carve animals and, you know, interpretive work, abstract work, realism, a little bit of everything. So I decided to go to art school. I didn't really actually want to go to college, but my parents said I don't have any choice. So I knew I wanted to do it for a living, and that's, you know, carve full time. But it's good to have a backup plan. And my parents said that I had to go to school, and so I did that and graduated. And let's see, 1995, I was, you know, carving full time and teaching tennis also. My father was a tennis pro, and I grew up playing competitive tennis, and that helped supplement and pay the bills. Another advice: to carve full time, I would have a backup job starting with until you get your clientele, your base so you can support yourself full time. So yeah, I taught tennis in my 20s and carved full time, did a lot of shows. But after a while, I decided to teach. Like, one of my grandfathers was a professor of biology at Presbyterian College in South Carolina. My other grandfather was an artist supporting 5 kids, and but I decided to get my master's degree in sculpture. This is after, during the 90s, I also worked for other sculptors. I also worked for a furniture designer, worked with sculptures on monumental works in wood, bronze, stone. So I learned a lot of different techniques. And in fact, one of my professors, I had a hard time actually getting accepted into the program, because a lot of people consider carving not fine art. But when I took a class and they saw how hardworking I was, the professor was intimidated by my skills. He actually told me that. And so I was appointed, I got into the program. I was appointed a TA. I was a technician, a shop technician. So I learned how to use all the tools, including welders, plasma cutters, stone carving tools, of course, wood safety. That's a big concern with working with wood. But I wanted to teach, so I was a TA. I was also I was a TA. I was an RA and a TA, and I studied abroad, and I did explored concepts with art and with wood carving and mixed media. So here's a piece I did in grad school, and it is a maquette, or French word for model. And this is a mosquito. And this will not be a fun. We got a lot of mosquitoes here in Georgia. I just got bit some this morning while working in the yard. But I actually made this over 7 feet tall. You can walk beneath the legs of the mosquito. So, you know, it was more of a conceptual program, which helped with ideas. And before I even finished grad school, I got a job from a former professor. So I started teaching in 2001 at Kennesaw State University. That's the second largest university in Georgia. So I taught there from 2001 to 2008. And I taught wood carving and sculpting. I taught the classes were three-dimensional design, sculpture 1, advanced sculpture. I taught professional practices, including portfolio review, as well as art appreciation. So this really helped my art and actually improve my business skills. I wanted to practice what I preached. But I found a lot of professors were kind of in a bubble. It wasn't really about teaching. It was about selling. It was about teaching, which is fine. But I wanted to, and I continued to work on my business, Wilson Life Sculpture, and I did well. So well that I stopped teaching and I did full time with my art again. I didn't need to teach. I actually taught at the John C. Campbell Folk School for about 10 years, teaching week-long seminars. But I have not taught since. And but this is something I'm interested in, especially with the virtual teaching and one-on-one classes or seminars. So I like to be able to help you, and I like to gauge the audience and perhaps talk about what I taught, and that's the presentation as well as the composition of each sculpture. And that's the elements of design and the principles of organization. So I can look at the pieces behind me, and there's a better light. Presentation is really important. How you light your work. I put my work on pedestals. I have some awards from a former show, and actually won my 100th Best of Show award with the Flying Scissors Flycatcher behind me at the Charlotte's, what is it called here? The Charlotte Woodcarver Showcase of Woodcarvers show a few months ago. So that was an honor. And so I can talk about composition, that is, but I like to gauge the audience here to see what they're interested in, because I can also talk about the business end. And that's, that involves so much marketing. And if you're interested in selling your work or putting your work in galleries and fine art shows. Now I get if you just like to carve for enjoyment. Carving is, I love it. It's my passion. And I wish I could just do that, but half the time is spent on the business end. And but when I can carve, especially with a knife, and relax, it's decompressing, and we're so relaxing and rewarding. And so, this is my work, and I might use a little too much art terms for you, like composition. What is composition? So composition actually is the arrangement of the elements of design and principles of organization. So everything has shape, form, it has texture, line, space, it's made in time, there's light, value. Let's see, I'm probably missing something because it's been over a dozen years since I've taught, but I try to put emphasis on my compositions, my presentation, as well as my concepts, doing original work, one-of-a-kind creations. And that's fine if you want to do use patterns of other people's work and just carve for enjoyment. But if you want to take it to the next level and carve, make your own patterns, I used to be a indirect carver, so I would do models like the mosquito maquette I showed you. And I also am a direct carver. So I carve works like this emerging quail. And this is carved from one piece of wood without any model, because after carving for so many years, I can visualize the work coming out, the subject matter, which is a bob-white quail emerging from these grasses. So this is called interpretive or stylized sculpture. I use a mallet and gouge for most of this carving, as well as some power tools, hand tools. But this is an example of a lot of pleasing lines and natural finish. showing the beautiful grain. And, this is a very slow process of carving, but one of the things I try to focus on, like quail, for instance, I try to show birds frozen in a moment of time. And quail, like the one here and one behind me perched, are an 85% decline since the 1960s. And I've seen just in my lifetime, there's 3 billion birds. There's 3 billion fewer birds than there used to be just 50 years ago. So it's sad, but by bringing life to these birds and going to shows that support conservation, I'm able to bring attention to birds in decline and also show beauty and birds that need protection. Like the great success story of the bald eagle that has come back from the brink of extinction because of DDT and poisoning, but bald eagles are doing great. So yeah, that's some of my concepts and my background. And again, I'd like to gauge, my audience, and if you're interested in learning in something particular, I'd be glad to give one-on-one lessons. And feel free to shoot me an email. You can also contact me, send a direct message on Instagram. I post every day there just about, and also give advice on there, giving tips. I like the community we're building here, and I hope I can help other wood carvers out there and artists. So I'm both a wood carver and an artist, and I know many of y'all are. And
hey, Chris, there's a question in the chat I want to go ahead and present to you.
Sure.
They're wanting to know if you can talk them through the process from concept to completion. So we know that there's a lot of thought process that goes into the design and what you do, and probably some studying that you do as far as the bird or whatever it is that you're carving. Can you take us through the whole process, including how you paint and that kind of thing from start to finish?
Sure. That's a good question, and thank you. It's a long one though, because there are a lot of steps involved. This is a labor of love, and people who carve know how time-consuming it is. I also carve and I texture and paint and put these in composition. So there's a lot of different steps. And the conceptual stage is, okay, what do I want to make? So what am I inspired by? What does the client want? So there's different things, like I get commissions, and I have to research the subject matter, but sometimes I just carve for my own sake. I carve what I want. And maybe something I just, I see a bird like the scissor-tail flycatcher behind me, and you see it migrating. I saw it at a birding site in Dolphin Island. As they crossed the Gulf of Mexico, their bird was catching insects on the wing, and the yellow jasmine was just in bloom. And I just love how it flies. I call it flying with scissors. So the concept was, I was inspired by seeing the bird in nature. And I will do sketches of the bird in flight. And if it's a complicated pose, flying, wings out, I might do a clay model. That's how Larry Barth teaches, and a lot of other sculptors and wood carvers. So you can develop a pattern. So after that, I developed a pattern, and having to measure, getting close to the bird. That's really important. Being able to get study skins, working from photographs, studiables, getting the right proportions, measurements. There's the science behind it. But I'm an artist too, so I'm not just predicting science, I'm showing composition. So I'll sketch out, the entire composition, the base with the bird. What do I want to do? So I plan everything out, the base, the bird, or whatever other wildlife subject before I start. Either sketching or clay model, or I can just look at pieces of wood and say, hey, this looks like it could be good for an owl or a duck, or especially natural pieces. So I use Tupelo wood and basswood. And Tupelo wood is a tight grain wood like bass. When I was a teenager, a fellow was selling it in South Georgia, and I traded a decoy for 3 truckloads of wood. And that Tupelo wood has lasted me for decades and decades and decades. But you can still find it. It grows in wetlands, and it's a great wood. So you draw your pattern on the wood, and I cut out the wood with a bandsaw. On my second bandsaw, jet bandsaw, the old bandsaws, old tools are the best. Yeah. And 14-inch bandsaw. After I carve, after I bandsaw the pattern, the top and side view, I'll carve very fast, just rounding the bird. I'll draw before I carve, and I'll use power tools. But I'll learn to slow down. I don't carve too fast so to make mistakes. It's really easy. There's so many different tools you can use. I mean, sometimes I just use a new tool to, if I get bored, because you can do the same thing with a number of tools. There's not like one, you can't do the same thing with the hand tools, you can't do with power tools. So yeah, I like finishing my work with hand tools, knives, and those micro chisels, gouges, and little emery board, sanders. And yeah, so it's a lot of carving, sanding, refining, using calipers, getting measurements, and I will sand it super smooth, and then that begins the process of texturing. I will lay out the feather flow, every feather of the bird, drawing on the bird, and texturing with a wood burning tool primarily. I like getting very sharp, very, very close lines. And that gives a sheen. I'm talking about up to 200 lines per inch. So I'll use a magnifying lens, and it's a little bit crazy, but it gets exceptional detail, and it produces a real soft sheen that looks like feathers, especially when I use oil paints. Yeah, that's what I do. I seal the birds, and I'll paint them. And this whole process can, it takes at least 3 to 4 months per bird. I've spent 6 months to 2 years on, life-size hawks in flight and large pieces. So that's the subtractive process, carving a bird. So hope that answered your question.
Hi, Chris.
Yes. So any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
You said you finish it. What do you finish it with before you paint it?
I prefer oil paints. I do use acrylics as well for habitat, and but I like oil paints for their sheen. It's easy to blend. This is a process where it takes several layers of paint, and it takes weeks to develop because the paints take time to dry. So oil paints, yeah, and it takes time to learn how to control the sheen of oils. Because a lot of times they come out very, very bright, but by texturing my birds and painting out the paint, I'm able to get a real soft appearance.
And then the sealer, what do you use to seal it before paint?
I've got demos on my Instagram. I use a Def wood sealer. Works quite well. But there are other products as well. There's other ways to seal it. That's not the only way. There's ways to, other ways.
Hey, thank you. And thanks for doing this today.
Oh, you're welcome. Good luck. Hope that helps. So,
another question in the chat, Chris. Which bird has been your favorite to carve so far?
Oh gosh, good question. I got a lot of favorites. I love seeing that scissor-tailed flycatcher behind me because it's just a gorgeous bird flying. And it's the state bird of Texas and state bird of Oklahoma, excuse me. But it's a migratory bird, so they winter in Central and South America, and they come up, to the Midwest during the spring and summer. But we're seeing more of them in the South, like in Georgia. There are a few nesting pairs of scissor-tailed flycatchers, which I see. So it's always a pleasure to see a bird like that. Georgia is also known for the bobwhite quail. South Georgia, the Red Hills region has the largest concentration of bobwhite quail in the country. even though they're in great decline, they're a joy to watch. I've done lots of quail, flying quail. Maybe did a cubby rise of quail, and that's a rise where they burst out, and that's always a great thing to see. But I'm inspired by everything. It's never ending. Nature's beauty. So that's a great question. I'm actually related to a famous naturalist and artist, and he's inspired my work. That was my thesis during graduate school. His name is William Bartram. So he's inspired by a lot of he's inspired a lot of artists. And yeah, I mean, if you love nature, it's just it's never ending how you can get inspired. So great question. Maybe a sear-tailed flycatcher, maybe a red-tailed hawk. Sometimes it depends on what I'm working on and what I see at the time. So yeah.
So another question, Chris, can you talk a little bit about the business side of it? I know you're a professional wood carver, so you do it for a living. There's some people that would be interested in doing that, but they're not really sure exactly how to get started, what the income streams are. Do you sell more off your website, or do people approach you? Do you have any recommendations for somebody who might want to pursue it professionally?
That's a great question. I did have a mentor, a professor that did large monumental public work, and I worked for, and also learned a lot of business from him and how to make money. But a lot of my teaching in art school, I didn't learn so much the business end. So I learned that myself. But I read an article on marketing just about every day. And that's, like I said, there's the creating, but the business end is challenging. And like I said before, I'd recommend having a daytime job until you can do it full time. The market fluctuates. And you just have to, it depends on the type of work you do. And I think I could help anyone, despite the genre of work, if they want to do it full time. If you want to shoot me an email, and that's something I'm considering teaching. There's different ways of creating awareness, such as on social media, Instagram, which is great for artists. I would recommend having your own website. And having as many ways people can see your work. So behind me, I'm not showing you my whole showroom, but I have my own gallery. So that is a great way to have people, collectors, visit and buy directly. So it's worked for me. And again, you shoot me emails if you're interested. There's so many. It's such a broad question, and it's not the most enjoyable part of what I do, because the creating is so important. But I learned to be a businessman, and not just that, but a good salesperson, because it's actually not how good you are. It's sad to say that, but you have to be business minded and be able to read people and be able to sell. Be able to develop relationships with people, make contacts, find your market, find your avatar, your person that is going to buy your kind of work, and try to market for that. It's a changing art world. Just talking a little bit about that, the business end. It used to be galleries were the gatekeepers. And they would say, what's art, what's craft, what could be exhibited, but not so much these days. A lot of folk art, untrained artists, and they're in museums, and it's great. So whether you're untrained or trained, this is like a second renaissance happening in art right now because of the internet, and people can be found from around the world. And it's great. It's great, and it's not so great, because anyone can get into it very easily. It's hard to be found. So you can have a website, but it's hard to, be noticed. So it's a constant marketing effort. And it's a great question. I think I can help, people by learning the hard way, the mistakes I learned. But it's too much to go into for this discussion. Just shoot me an email, and like I said, one-on-one, something like that, I could just talk on the phone. But I have also taught, a lot of skills. So my business, I taught professional practices at my university for a good 7 years, and my students loved it. But my chair of department, she didn't care. So I didn't get much support there, and that's when I said, sorry, but I'm going to explore my own, my work full time. I do much better as a result, in concentrating my efforts on my business. So great question, and I hope I gave you some tips in this process, and feel free to contact me. Thanks.
Chris, there's another follow-up question also in the chat. When you spend months on carving a piece, how do you determine the price of the work? Is that something you determine up front if you're doing it for a customer, or do you determine after you complete it what you're going to charge based on the amount of time that you have into it?
Great question. Yeah, it comes from experience. So it would be better to tell someone up front how much it's going to be rather than surprise them at the end. It's so you have to be able to, or you can give a ballpark offer and it can change somewhat, but so it comes from experience and pricing your work. There's a number of different ways to price your work. And I'm glad to help you there, because that's a mystery to a lot of people. And one of the things about that is that, you got to be careful of falling in love with your work if you want to sell your work. It's nice winning awards. I display my awards for a little bit after shows. But if you fall in love with your work, sometimes your prices you inflate your prices a little too much. So you have to keep your ego in check and start somewhere and gradually go up. Now, you're not just competing against living artists, you're competing against dead artists too. So that's a challenge in marketing, because a lot of rich people collect dead artists' work for a good reason, and they're collectible. So it's, but you have to be confident in your work and your abilities and yourself, which comes with experience, try to, it is time, to keep track of how much time, you put into your work. So I'm obviously after a very high-end buyer, and but my prices start from 500, and they can go up to 30,000 and more. But I've been very fortunate with my collectors over the years to be able to have a collector base and do quite well. So thanks for the question. Hope that helps. And also feel free to shoot me an email. So
all right. Any questions from the audience? Anybody have any questions for Chris today?
So are those carvings behind you, is that like a piece of driftwood or something you found and then you add the bird, or did you carve that whole thing?
It's a combination. I do find materials. I try to be sustainable. I don't use anything from cut from the rainforest or trees that are live. I use wood that's been damaged from trees. The piece that the scissor cell flycatcher is flying from is a piece of live oak that the tree, it's very dense, heavy wood. It's been weathered from a storm. So that is natural. But I also carve areas in it. It shows from the natural grain. I wish I could turn around, because all three of these pieces are meant to be viewed in the round. They're freestanding pieces. They're not frontal pieces. So there's a lot of different pieces. I do use driftwood. I like to go hiking, but I always do something to my wood. And I will either a few of the pieces that really look natural, but actually been painted to enhance the form. Value is a great element to enhance your form. Even though it's a three-dimensional subject, you got to consider a light source and to make something even more live. So yeah, I do collect wood. There's also metal. Some of the branches are actually metal painted to look like wood. The Spanish moss of the two owls is made of metal. The moth, superior moth, is wood and metal. There's a vine with with leaves. It's silver soldered metal. So I'm thinking of the whole composition, the lines, the flow. And so, yeah, it's kind of a dance with nature. If you can find a cool piece and add to it. This eagle kind of looks like a figure, kind of going like this. So, you know, it's a celebration. It's a majestic eagle in flight. So the concept is, you know, just like the bird flying, it's joyful. The bobwhite quail, and that he's standing, I call that nature's cathedral. And it's standing over here. It's standing in this negative space, drawing attention to it. And interestingly, I found this piece of wood. It's pine heart. Pine heart is what is left over of a giant pine tree, and it was burned. And so it's kind of a resurrection theme going with the quail standing in the pine heart piece of wood, which I've carved and finished. And also the bobwhite quail thrive in that type of habitat. When you burn pine trees, they love that, and they love that area. So it's very fitting for the theme. So yeah, great question. Yeah, if you have any, want to shoot me an email about how to find wood or alter it, work with it, keep insects at bay. There's just so many different things. You know, I like leaving parts natural and parts carving. So yeah, great question. And so thank you.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for the insight on those pieces back there, that personal stuff. I really like that bald eagle composition. I wish I could see it in the round.
Oh, I can maybe turn a little bit for you. I don't know if you can see the bird flying. Yeah, a little bit better there. That's miniature, of course. I've not done a life size, you know, eagle in flight. I've done hawks, but there you go. See a little bit.
Hey, Chris, another question in the chat. We may have a lot of beginner bird carvers in the group. What would be a good species for somebody to start carving birds if they've never carved them before?
Oh, good question. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different birds. Do something that you see, you know, it comes to your feeder that you're familiar with. Again, it's, you know, when I started as a teenager, I wasn't really a bird watcher or birder. Now I am. Now I have bird feeders, and they come to my feeder. And so I would do a bird like a cardinal or a wren, something that, you know, you're familiar with, that you see in your backyard, and put feed out to attract them. Because the more you study the bird and up close, you can see it, the better your carving will be. So one of my best tips of advice is know your subject matter. And there's a wealth of information out there, and I'd be glad to, for every species of bird, I have tremendous amounts of reference. I carved lots of different songbirds, waterfowl, birds of prey, ducks, owls, a miniature and life size. So yeah, again, I'm glad to help you. You know, I have carved the John C. Campbell Folk School songbirds and ducks, and a lot of it step by step. I'll carve, and then a student will carve. And I have had classes of a dozen students or more, up to top 20 students. But one-on-one always work best for me. I think that can be done virtually. You know, watch me carve, that's one way. Or if you want to carve alongside me. So there's a lot of patterns you can use, and I could send you a pattern and instruct you as well. So yeah, just shoot me an email, and I'm glad, if you don't know birds very well, I'm glad to teach you how to carve one. So good luck, and hope my presentation helps you.
One other question, Chris. I know you have competed in the wood carving competition, I guess, down in Charlotte. I saw your work down there. Is there anywhere else that people can come and see your work, or any other shows that's open to the public that people can come and actually see some of the stuff you've done?
Great question. I used to do a lot of shows, wood carving shows. The Charlotte Woodcarver Showcase show was a great one. That was actually my first time I competed there. So it's an honor to win Best in Birds and Open. So I don't have any shows scheduled right now, but if you want to follow me on my social media or my website, you can sign up in my newsletter, and I will do announcements of my shows. So I do have shows coming in the fall, from museums to galleries to woodcarving shows to fine art shows. I do a little everything. And yeah, I'd love to meet you down the road, or see you in Charlotte for the wood case. It was a great seeing that show and catching up with artists I haven't seen in over 25 years. So.
All right. Any other questions from anybody? Okay, Chris. We appreciate you taking time out. I think you're the first bird carver that we've had on. We had a chainsaw carver that did birds about mid-year last year, but nobody that truly focused on birds. And we feel like, you know, if we're going to bring somebody on, we try to bring on the best. And like I said, I've seen your work. It's by far some of the best bird carving that I've ever seen. So if you get a chance to go out and check out Chris's work, make sure you do that. Again, go out and like and subscribe his social media on YouTube, Instagram. Check out his website, which is wilsonwildlifesculpture.com. You can see him over on Facebook at Chris Wilson Wilson Wildlife Sculpture. Again, look him up if you have any interest in carving birds, or if you got questions as far as composition or even how to present your work. Chris would be a great resource to have. Go out and reach out and contact him, and I'm sure he'll be happy to help you. Just want to remind you all again some things that we've got going on with the International Association of Woodcarvers. Next month, we'll have Guy Nelson that's going to be coming on with us on July the 23rd. Again, we're in our summer series just to allow people time to go out and spend time with their families. I know Father's Day is coming up, so anybody that's a father on this meeting, happy Father's Day to you all. Thanks for joining in with us. Want to remind you that there's some workshops coming up that I talked about at the beginning of the meeting. I saw Dave Stetson's on today. He's got a class that's coming up on July the 9th. So if you're interested in signing up for that, get out and contact Dave and get signed up for it. It's on carving heads, hands, and hair. That'll be a great class to get involved in. You can find his information over on Woodcarving Academy. And Janet Cordell also has a class coming up on full-figured females starting on August the 12th. So contact Janet if you're interested in that. I want to say thank you all for coming in with the International Association of Woodcarvers. Thanks for Chris again for coming on today and presenting with us. We'll put this video out on YouTube, so you'll be able to see that after today. And remember to go out and like and subscribe our channel there. We have over 100 videos out there that help carvers. We started this back at the beginning of COVID. We feel like that we're benefiting carvers by continuing to have these meetings, so we continue to present these and offer these up free of charge to everybody. But I did put over in the chat, if you want to support us, go out, click on our link tree and buy us a coffee, and that'll benefit as far as us being able to continue these meetings going through the end of the year. Again, starting in September, we'll go back to our weekly meetings. Everybody enjoy your summer, and we will see you on July the 23rd for our next meeting with Guy Nelson. Thank you all, and have a great day today.